Listen, buddy, I got some thoughts on Boros equipment, alright? Boros equipment has gotten so many new toys that when a new commander comes out in this space, everybody just kind of sighs and says, oh, cool, alright, I already have this deck. But do you think that's what old Nicky G says? Heck no. Old Nicky G is a nuanced old man. I wake up in the morning, I take a sausage and some eggs, and I sit in contemplative silence as I ruminate on the relative merits of each new card, including Nahiri Forged in Fury. Now, if you want to go look it up, Nahiri has a ton of flavor and lore. If you knew nothing about magic, you would see Nahiri and think she's just mad all the time. She's always gritting her teeth and summoning some swords or throwing some kind of magical energy around, dude. She's like the magic version of Gordon Ramsay. Take your floppy sword and get it out of me kitchen. Now listen up, dude. I've been acquainted with Nahiri for a long time. She's been around since her first incarnation as Nahiri the Lithomancer. I bought this commander pre-con in 2014, but I don't think I ever used her as a commander. The deck got taken apart for the pieces. Now, since then, there have been an absurd amount of Boros equipment legends. More than a few have baked in card advantage, so why should we pay attention to Nahiri Forged in Fury? Well, that's the whole point of this dang video, buddy, but first you gotta click the subscribe button, alright? Don't just flap your fingers around ineffectively at it, just give it a good solid American click, alright? Not too hard. And if you want to support the channel, you can be like the old vampiric tyrant, dude. Buy me a coffee at the link in the description, baby. Alright, let's get down to brass tacks here. You got Nahiri Forged in Fury, 4 red and a white for a legendary creature. Core Artificer, it's a 5/4. Has affinity for equipment. Whenever an equipped creature you control attacks, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. You may cast equipment spells this way without paying their mana cost. Decent stat line, no evasion, the art is rad. I don't understand why she's so mad all the time, just summoning flying lava swords, just like a young Tina Turner out there. What the heck's she doing? Just relax, have some sleepy time tea, maybe stop forging flying lava swords for 2 seconds, dude. That affinity for equipment will get her out on turns 4 or so. Ideally, you're playing out cheap 1 to 3 mana value equipment on turns 1 to 3. Turn 4, you're plopping out the lady here. So the ability states you may play, so that includes lands as well as spells, and the ability to cheat out equipment without paying their mana costs. I mean, come on, dude, that's really nice. So first things first, all the best equipment and enablers are expensive as hell. Like, look at the old Stone Forge Mystic here. Kind of looks like Nahiri. It might be Nahiri on the art. I don't know, dude. You got your old Swords of Fire and Ice, Truth and Justice, Feast and Famine. All the above are above $30 or so. Fire and Ice is more like 50 bucks. These are awesome cards, extraordinarily powerful, go great in these commander equipment decks. They won't make the cut in a budget deck. Even though they get reprinted all the time, these cards remain high value. Listen, let's just take an art appreciation break for a second. Take a look at this thing. I know people have all kinds of opinions. You know what? You can put your opinions down in the comments or you can keep them to yourself, brother. But if you ever wanted Barbara Eden from I Dream a Genie on a Magic card, this is it. But it's still 25 bucks. Now, Hammer of Nazan has come up quite a bit in price. It's $22 right now, has this auto equipability similar to Sigarda's Aid, which is also $11 or so. I love the art on this. The guy is asking for health insurance and Sigarda's handing him a meat tenderizer. Commander's Plate also is very efficient, provides solid protection. I would say if you splurged on one of these, Hammer of Nazan is the way to go, dude. It's a great tutor target and can help cheat equip costs on all your equipment. Then you have the second sphere of equipment. You got the old Shadow Spear. You got more of the swords, Sword of Caldra, Reaver Cleaver, which turns your creature into old Gnawbone. These are all great if you have them, but if you don't have them, they're going to be 10 to 15 bucks, dude. And you have a bunch of other good swords. You got Sword of the Animus, Sword of Hearth and Home, the new Bitterthorn. Bitterthorn, Nissa's Animus, is 3 generic mana for a legendary artifact equipment with a living weapon. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. Whenever it attacks, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. It's new out of March of the Machine Commander. This is very similar to Sword of the Animist, but has living weapons, so it has some real synergy with Nahiri. Alright, I'm going to go off script and go on a bit of a rant here. I just got done listening to the MTG Goldfish podcast where they talk about ranking the swords, dude. And some of the arguments on there are so wildly disingenuous. I don't know what the heck they're talking about. They're like, this sword in particular, Sword of Hearth and Home, is bad because you don't run basics. I'm like, what's going on with these guys, man? Are they doing this just for clicks? And if you have one, don't forget about Embercleave. This is a monstrous card that came out in Throne of Eldraine, is about $10. If you flip this off the top with Nahiri's second ability, you can cast it immediately because it has flash and you can do it without paying its mana cost. God damn. Alright, last of our expensive enablers here. We got Pure Steel Paladin, white for a creature, Human Knight, it's a 2/2. Whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. Has Metalcraft. Equipment you control have equip 0 as long as you control 3 or more artifacts. There's kind of this meme in my play group where I noticed that Pure Steel Paladin was $2 after a reprint in Double Masters. This is before I was doing YouTube, so I put it in the Discord. And I told all my bros to buy one, and guess what? They didn't. I bought one, and then the dang thing shot up, and I was just like, hey, listen, I told you guys so. I've been putting Pure Steel Paladin in every deck, brother. It's $2. It's $10 right now, but whatever. Great card if you can get it into an equipment deck or if you have one hanging around your box. Then we start getting into the $4 and $5 equipment that are all generically pretty useful. Great for budget decks. You can throw 1 or 2 of those guys in there. Fill out your decks with any of the above based on budget and what you have on hand. You can build equipment very cheap if you concentrate on the effects that you need. You want evasion, you want haste, stuff like that, and balance creatures to wear the equipment with good cheap cards. So what recommends Nahiri specifically? Well, let's think about it for a minute and do a little thought experiment. If you're casting spells from exile, there are a few cards that can benefit from that, but are they worth it? Passionate Archaeologist, 1 and a red for legendary enchantment background. Commander creatures you own have whenever you cast a spell from exile, this creature deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to target opponent. This is fine, but the majority of your equipment is pretty cheap. Top end's going to be about 6. I don't know if that's worth it in this deck, and it dilutes the massive equipment that you're going to have. Well, grab onto your seat, dude, because we got the new Pia Nalar, Council of Revival, red and white for a legendary creature, human artificer. It's a 2/3. Thopters you control have haste. Whenever you play a land from exile or cast a spell from exile, create a little 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. It's also new out of the aftermath. This old lady builds Thopters, right? She's sitting in her house, she's drinking tea, she's building Thopters, dude, talking about all of her kids' problems. This is more of a build around card, and the payoff is a 1/1 Thopter. Not terrible, but not amazing, and has nothing to do with our commander. How about the Orcs gone wild out here on the Orc bus, dude? Wild Magic Sorcerers chilling out there, and actually looks like these dudes are playing football in the 1940s or something. I'm not sure if this is a big enough payoff for casting equipment from exile. Your mileage may vary on this one. Alright, this is another one that I told people to buy way back in the day. It was like 60 cents or something, and now it's up to $9. Got the old Keeper of Secrets, 5 and a red for a creature demon. It's a 6/4 with first strike and haste. Has Symphony of Pain, of course it does, like all my ex-girlfriends, dude. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, Keeper of Secrets deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to target opponent. This guy, or whatever, is a pretty nice creature to be in, like, hey, surprise dude, we got haste, we're swinging in with first strike. The problem with this for a budget deck is that it's $9. Alright, so the play pattern with our commander, Nahiri, Forged in Fury, is you're swanging in with your equipped creature, 1 or 2 of them, then seeing what you flip off the top to cast second main phase. You want to save your land drop if you can, because you can play that land if needed. There are also a pretty huge selection of cheap enablers and alternate commanders that you can easily slot into the deck. There's such a critical mass of Boros legends that provide additional value for equipment decks, you can kind of take your pick. Listen man, all the cards that go into a Nahiri are going to go into Akiri Fearless Voyager. 1 red and a white for a legendary creature, Core Warrior. It's a 3/3. Whenever you attack a player with 1 or more equipped creatures, draw a card. And as white, you may unattach an equipment from a creature you control. If you do, tap that creature and it gains indestructible until end of turn. Little failsafe there. Yeah man, Akiri and Nahiri, they see clearly, they drink in the clearing. You got Arden, Intrepid Archaeologist, 2 and a white for a legendary creature, Core Scout. It's a 2/2. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may attach any number of auras and equipment you control to target permanent or player. This guy has cool boots, he's got no shirt, he's got the drip, checks out. You got cards like Astor, Bearer of Blades, dude. He's a legendary creature, human warrior. It's a 4/4 for 2 red and a white. When he enters the battlefield, look at the top 7 cards of your library. You can reveal an equipment or vehicle card from among them, put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom in a random order. Equipment you control have equip 1. That's all I care about. Ignore the vehicle part. This guy cheats equip costs. That's what we need, dude. That's why our den is so good. That's our weak point with Nahiri. That's also why Brunor is good, dude. Look, he broke his hat. It's 2 red and a white for a legendary creature, Dwarf Warrior. It's a 5/3. Each creature you control gets +2/+0 for each equipment attached to it. That's great. You may pay 0 rather than pay the equip cost of the first equip ability you activate each turn. Mighty Dwarf, lend me your beard for the coming battle. Yeah man, Jor Kadeen is back, dude. Red and a white for a legendary creature, human rebel. It's a 2/2 with trample. Whenever he attacks, it gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of equipped creatures you control. That includes him, dude. Then, if his power is greater than 4, draw a card, or 4 or greater, draw a card. This guy, in his older incarnation, was one of my first commanders, and wouldn't actually be bad in this deck, but that deck sucked. And this guy isn't bad. He wants you to go wide, but so does Nahiri, so you can maximize her attack triggers. Look at old Zerta, dude. I love this new art for this thing. It looks rad. It's 1 and a hybrid Boros for a legendary creature, Elemental Fox, dude, just like me. has companion, but whatever. Abilities you activate that aren't mana abilities cost 2 less to activate. Well, guess what, dude? Zerta has nothing to do with equipment, but equip is an activated ability, and so it'll cost less to activate. Also combos with Basalt Monolith if you want to lean into that. Wyleth, dude, I like this guy's haircut. It's 1 red and a white for a legendary creature, human warrior to 2/2 with tramp stamps, dude. Whenever he attacks, draw a card for each aura and equipment attached to it. He's the man. He's got a cool haircut and can be pretty dope if you get a bunch of equipment onto him. Pretty much any of these guys can get out there early and start clanging and banging when Nahiri comes down and takes your deck to Value Town. So Nahiri's second ability triggers whenever an equipped creature attacks, so more is better. Living Weapon and 4 Mirrodin make equipped little ding-dongs that can bash in for more triggers. You got the old Flare Husk, you got Scythe Claw, which is probably Scythe Claw, Nettle Cyst, best card in any deck, maybe even in the world, dude. And you got Caldra Complete, 7 generic mana for a legendary artifact equipment, has Living Weapon, so it comes down with that sexy little germ, dude. It's indestructible, it's probably gonorrhea. Equipped creature gets +5/+5, has First Strike, Trample, Indestructible, Haste, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a creature, exile that creature has equipped for 7. This thing is only about $4, brings its own germs to the party just like a kid going to a dang birthday party. And you got the 4 Mirrodin guys, they bring a little 2/2 rebel along for the ride, dude. You got the Blade Hold, War Whip, it's pretty good equipment. Equipped creatures has Double Strike. Equip abilities you activate of other equipment cost 1 less to activate. I love this lady's hat, and this thing helps with equip costs, which I think Nahiri needs more than anything. Then you have the Hexplate Wallbreaker, dude. 3 red for an equipment, has 4 Mirrodin. Equipped creature gets +2/+2. Whenever it attacks, if it's the first combat phase of the turn, untap each attacking creature. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. This goes hard in an equipment deck and has my Uncle Giuseppe depicted in the art. And you have a couple equipment creatures like the old Lizard Blades here from Kamigawa. That's an equipment, dude. Look at the dang card type. So it benefits from all the stuff that benefits equipment. You have to be a little careful though, as Store works with these equipped creatures. Equipment you control have equip 1, that's what he says. Brunor does not. He says you may pay 0 rather than pay the equip cost of the first ability you activate each turn. They don't have equip abilities, dude. They have reconfigure abilities, you silly goose. Now you may want to include some Scry in this deck so you can get the top deck ready for Nahiri's triggers, or if you're Johnny Moneybags out there, you can grab a Scroll Rack. Alright, so now you have the basic elements of a Boros equipment deck. So how does Nahiri compare to other commanders in this space? I think when it works really well. Having a bunch of attacking and equipped creatures gives you an excellent burst of card selection, of which, if you build the deck with about 30 or so equipments, you will be casting 1 or 2 for free second main phase. So I put together a budget deck, about $80, has some real punching power. The one card above $5 that I can't do without in a deck like this is the Balin Wandering Knight, dude. It's 2 white for a legendary creature Cat Knight. It's a 3/3 with First Strike. This guy has double strike as long as 2 or more equipment are attached to it, and has 1 white. Attach all equipment you control to Balin. What weapon will you bear against one who's mastered them all, dude? I ask myself that same question when I get out of the shower every single day. I know there's an anime waifu version, right? But I'm partial to the spherical-headed master of many swords, 3-sword style, holding one of his dang teeth, dude, just like Zoro from One Piece. This is a late game finisher that you only need 6 mana to be slapping in for 30 damage late game, dude. So yeah, man, I also put together a no budget deck with some of the cards I own from another equipment deck that I have. I think the budget version is actually a little smoother playing, as it concentrates more on cheap equipment rather than expensive generic value equipment. Anyways, dude, I'm a fan of Nahiri. It's an interesting and powerful take on equipment in a Boros colors. It's Boros aggro with card advantage on the commander and can really get out of hand quick. These decks are 1,000 times easier to build than they were in 2014 and 2015. There's a bunch of equipment you can choose from. And you get away with a decent deck for a low cost. Equipment decks are fun because they're easy to upgrade as you open or otherwise obtain the better equipment cards. You're not going to obtain them through nefarious means, I bet you though, dude. You're not going to do that kind of buffoonery. If you can get 4 triggers off of Nahiri, dude, and get lucky with some expensive living weapons, you're going to be golden for the rest of the game. Anyways, have fun. Grab 2 swords and a spear and a dirk and a dang war whip and some cool whip and enjoy your life, you badgers. Sneaky G from Better Commander signing off.